test each other's strength, battling jaw to jaw. Those tusk-like canines are as sharp as knives. Zambia is home to one of the natural world's 7 wonders, Victoria Falls. Known as Mozwatunya, it means the smoke that thunders. Kilometers to the northeast of the falls is the South Luangwa National Park. The southernmost of 3 national parks in the valley of the Luangwa River, it's world-renowned for its wildlife. Founded as a game reserve in 1938, South Luangwa became a national park in 1972. Now covers over 9,000 square kilometers. The park supports large populations of thorny-crossed giraffe and herds of elephant and buffalo, often several hundred strong. The Luangwa River runs along the eastern edge of the reserve. It's home to 2 of Africa's most feared creatures, crocodiles and the animal known as the river horse. The common ancestor of both whales and hippos lived around 50 million years ago. While the whales became truly aquatic with flippers and a tail, the amphibious hippos evolved load-bearing legs to walk on land. Like cetaceans, they have very little hair and spend a day in water to keep their body temperature down and their skin from drying out. They're well adapted for a semi-aquatic life, having eyes, ears, and nose high on their head. Their slit-like nostrils can be closed at will, much like their distant relatives, the whales. Famous for cooling their blood by wallowing, they protect themselves with mud when it's too shallow to remain largely submerged. The hippo's apparent smile, like the dolphins, is entirely physiological. Similarly to whales, groups of hippos are called pods and consist of females and offspring, a dominant bull, and subordinate bachelors. In a sheltered backwater of the Luangwa River, a small pod feeds on water cabbage. One has a tiny calf. It's possibly the reason why the group has separated from the main pod. It nurses underwater, just like infant cetaceans, coming up for air every 30 seconds or so. Mothers keep their newborn isolated for about 2 weeks to form a close bond and give the vulnerable baby time to gain the strength it will need to keep out of the way of boisterous adults. Out in the river, a young female appears to be coming into season and has aroused the interest of a suitor. Hippos can't float, so a calf uses its mother as support and perhaps to watch the antics of the courting couple. Preoccupied, they cross over into the territory of the neighboring dominant bull. He won't tolerate the trespass. Ritualized dung showering proclaims territorial rights and possession. The female retreats, sensing the threat. Spreading strong scent is a serious challenge that cannot be ignored. The larger, more powerful bull proves his supremacy and will claim exclusive mating rights. Back in the safety of her pod, the female continues to elicit attention. A bachelor ignores her advances. Reprisals from the dominant male could prove fatal. In no mood to be rebuffed, the hippo cow now braves rousing the territory holder from his reverie. A new mother senses the atmosphere is charged. This is not a safe place for a very young calf. Out on land, the baby is very vulnerable to attack from lions and hyenas. Aware of no predators nearby, the female decides it's safer to lead her calf to a secluded tributary. Boisterous adults can inadvertently drown infant hippos. In sheltered waters away from the melee, the baby will be relatively safe. Other near neighbors benefit from the hippo's presence. Nile crocodiles are famous for preying on large mammals like wildebeest and zebra, but fish are a mainstay of their diet. While hippos leave the water to feed at night, crocs come out by day to bask in the sun. The ancestors of crocodiles were around when hippos developed in Africa. It's thought hippos evolved to live in close groups, primarily to protect their young from large reptiles. It's unusual to see interaction between the two animals. Here, a male is probably responding to hippo dung that the crocodile is unintentionally carrying on its body. Despite its size and well-armed jaws, the croc does not attack. Adult hippos have been seen biting large crocodiles in half. The reptiles seem to have a tolerant respect for the mighty river horse. The hippo is confused and persistent, but the huge croc merely attempts to get out of its way. The two powerful species remain in a fragile harmony while the water level stays high. The hippopotamus is one of the most aggressive creatures in the world and is often regarded as one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. Mothers with young are fiercely protective. The female knows the safest place for her baby is in the water, despite the reptiles. Crocodiles can kill baby hippos, but steer clear of those guarded by defensive adults. The essential goal for dominant hippo bulls is access to females. Bearing the battle scars of a feisty courtship or a challenge from a rival male, this bull has earned exclusive breeding rights. Hippos mate in water with the female submerged and only surfacing briefly to breathe. Gestation lasts 8 months. Barely 1 in 10 of hippo males hold their territory and breed. The stakes are high and worth fighting for, sometimes to the death. Dominant bulls can reign supreme for up to 20 years, but eventually every successful male will be forced out by another in his prime. Hippos can live for up to 50 years in the wild, but sometimes a violent lifestyle can foreshorten their life expectancy. The carcass represents a feast that can last for days, and it's not long before the first scavengers arrive. Birds of many species flock to Zambia's South Luangwa National Park. Stands of large trees near the river are a favorite nesting site for migrants. The guano of so many birds bleaches the trunks and branches white. Below, a herd of Cape buffalo pass on their way to drink. In the dry season, the river is the essential source of water. Buffalo are reputedly one of the most dangerous animals in Africa, but some of the resident birds are undaunted. Hippos too suffer the frequent attention of oxpeckers. It was originally thought that the birds had a symbiotic relationship with their hosts, both species benefiting mutually. These birds are now regarded as parasites. While they do pick off ticks, they also peck blood and tissue from fresh wounds. They're the only known bird to regularly eat earwax. Although it has a nutritional value, it's very hard to digest. It is possible that oxpeckers help to keep wounds clean and reduce infection, but a plague of this many birds only adds insult to injury. Oxpeckers can't swim, so the hippo has a way of discouraging unwanted passengers. But he doesn't seem unduly bothered. Water has deterred the vultures from opening up the hippo carcass. There's still a veritable feast available here for lions. Most lions are reluctant to swim, but for a meal this substantial, a large lion cub is prepared to get his feet wet. The hippos seem unperturbed by the presence of a predator in their midst. It's the cat that's more uncomfortable. The arrival of a lioness unnerves the already uneasy cub. One lion may be ignored, but as more members of the pride come down to feed, the hippos show signs of agitation. Lions can kill baby hippos, but healthy adults and even juveniles are too bulky for them to tackle, especially when in water. The hippo seems intrigued by the dead of its own. The male lion has eaten his fill, and now that the carcass has been opened, the scavenging marabou stork can grab a share. adult hippo has had enough of the lion's encroachment. Threat yawns are designed to scare them. But there's only so far any hippo will go. There's so much hostility round the carcass that the vultures remain cautious, especially as one bird has already been fatally injured. The smell of rotting flesh attracts impressive reptilian scavengers. While the crocodiles are cautious of lions on land, the cats won't take on a crocodile in water. There's not much left of the dead hippo now, and the crocs are left to argue over skin and bone. The hippopod moves into deeper water, away from the growing number of scavenging predators. Hippos can become aggressive very quickly. Males defend their territories, and females their young against anything unfamiliar or that they regard as a threat. Calves are particularly vulnerable. Females do their best to defend their offspring, but these are dangerous waters for baby hippos. A dominant bull's trespass of a neighbor's boundary is regarded as a serious violation. Calves need to steer well clear of any male on the charge. It's thought hippos evolved to cluster together to defend calves from crocodiles. But living in such close proximity promotes intergroup tension and hostility that in turn threatens the youngest members. Playful babies are best kept out on the periphery, surrounded by protective female relatives. Faced with bulls, mothers with calves often tail flap and defecate, a sign of submission. Males maintain their territory by body posturing, scent marking, and threat yawning. Despite their mother's best efforts, babies all too frequently get caught up in internal disputes. The hippo calf has just seconds to save itself from beneath two clashing giants. Spraying dung and urine, the dominant male claims his victory and territory. Bachelors in the pod are tolerated as long as they don't challenge the dominant bull's supremacy. This one suffered the consequences of trying to win access to females. Peace returns to the pod, but the high drama has led to terrible costs. A baby is badly wounded. There's nothing its mother can do for it except stand guard and wait. With the temperatures reaching their highest, a darkness is descending on the wounded baby and her mother. The female needs to keep her stricken offspring in water away from land predators, but not too close to the main pod. Even in shallow water, the baby is in trouble. If it can't stand, it can't breathe. Falling water levels are making the hippos tense and fractious. The mother can only place herself between her struggling baby and the inadvertent threat from other pod members. She won't give up and is compelled to see off those that venture too close. The crocodiles close in, but keep their distance. The baby has lost its fight, while the bereft female continues to stand guard. The crocs keep a low profile. Eventually, the hippo cow moves on to let an African drama play out towards an ending that is all too familiar. As they get older, baby hippos learn to keep well out of the way of disputes within the group and stay close to their mothers. Females with young calves rarely wander, but the rest of the pod will emerge in darkness to spend the night wandering far and wide in search of food. Early morning sees the last of the adult hippos returning to the river after a night foraging on land. Hippos eat about 40 kilos of grass and leaves per night, but in the dry season finding sufficient food is no easy task. This one grabs a few last mouthfuls before retiring for the daylight hours back to the river. The Luangwa River never completely dries up during the hot, arid months, but water levels can get extremely low. Isolated pools and lagoons soon start their inexorable metamorphosis into mud traps. While a youngster enjoys the novelty of stretching his legs on land, hippos can't survive long out of water by day. Once the river looked like this, but now the sun has reduced it to a narrow ribbon. Parched ground becomes a mosaic of cracks, but the giraffe managed to find a few dirty pools to quench their thirst. In some hippopod territories, all that remains of their former flooded home is a vast stretch of viscous mud. It's well known that hippos wallow in mud pools, but it's out of necessity rather than choice. They need to keep cool, and in these conditions, a mud pack does the job. Their tough skin is surprisingly prone to sunburn, and the mud, liberally applied, provides ultraviolet protection. Hippos also have an inbuilt sunscreen, a secretion made up of two pigments, one red and one orange. As it turns a scarlet brown, early researchers named it blood sweat, but it is neither. The mixture has a dual purpose. Firstly, it protects their skin from sunburn, and secondly, it kills and inhibits the growth of bacteria. It is essentially hippo antiseptic. Mud is a far riskier environment than water. It's difficult to move through, and there are real risks of getting trapped. But in the searing heat, there's no other option for the last returning night wanderers. Hippos now have to endure uncomfortably crowded conditions, but are surprisingly calm. Exhausted by a lack of food and oppressive heat, they must conserve every last ounce of energy if they are to survive until the rains come. The buffalo are after water, but daren't wade out too far into this mire. At least a coat of sludge will deter biting flies and help keep them cool until dark clouds threaten to break the grasp of the dry season. Rain falling in the hills flows down and quickly fills the river. The wet season starts in December, and thankfully for all the animals here, this year, it's on time. No predator will hunt in such a downpour, so the hippos are safe to leave the mud and enjoy a thorough drenching. Cooled and refreshed, all along the river there are signs of renewed life and vigor. The hippopods reclaim their territories and re-establish the hierarchy within the group. The lead bull must defend his dominance, and that includes confronting any bachelor who dares challenge his authority. Bulls test each other's strength, battling jaw to jaw. Those tusk-like canines are as sharp as knives. The fight is brief, but decisive. The resident male continues to reign supreme and prove his claim to exclusive mating rights. Males can fight to the death. There's so much at stake and too much to lose. In Africa, spilled blood doesn't go unnoticed for long. Crocodiles have an acute sense of smell and can locate food hundreds of meters away by scent alone, but they can't focus underwater. These hippos are unusually cautious. Something is amiss. The challenging bachelor has lost more than his fight for access to females. His demise elicits rarely seen behavior. Individuals from his pod arrive, very likely relatives, and start examining and licking the body. Others who seem interested are chased away. Perhaps this is a family-only ritual. Cows form close bonds with their young. Female groups of grandmothers, daughters, and other close relatives are known to stay together. There is much to learn about the social lives of hippopotamuses. Their reaction to their dead is still very much a mystery. from an early age. Through play fighting, they discover how they rank and compare with others in their pod. In this way, they avoid serious fights until they mature. For these young males, a time will come when they reach their prime and must eventually fight for a pod of their own. It will probably be a violent and ongoing struggle. But those that do succeed will reach and fulfill their potential and take their place in the hippo supremacy.